Hello, good evening to everyone who has joined today's class. Welcome back to our 8th class of learning how to program website using Laravel at advanced level. So today we're going to resume from where we stopped at in the previous video, and I hope if you've been following, you know exactly where I stopped at. But if you are not following, then I really recommend you to go and watch the previous videos that we always post on our YouTube channel and start practicing from video number 1 up to where we are, so that you should understand every concept that we have covered. So with that much said, I'm going to open the project that we've been practicing with, whereby I'll just simply come to my text editor or my IDE, which is Visual Studio Code, of course. And then I'll come to file and click on on open folder. Then I'm going to browse to where my folder is, which is on desktop under Laravel folder under UGNews 24. This is the project that we've been working with from day 1, okay, or from where we started implementing Laravel. So I'll open the project. I hope you can also open your own and proceed from where you stopped at. So this is the project that we have been working with. It's a simple news management system. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to start it, and then we go through it and we'll be able to understand where we stopped at, and we see how we can resume. So I'm going to expand my terminal, okay, and then I'm going to run php artisan serve. So there we are. So my project is being served on this endpoint or this server. So I'll go ahead and open this one by simply pressing Ctrl and hold, and then click on that particular IP. So you'll see this is the project that we've been doing. So if you've also been practicing alongside me, then you can also be able to do something of such a kind. It might not look great, but the big thing here is that we have followed the right architecture or good practices of creating such a project, whereby if I click on home, I can preview my home, and if I click on about us page, I can see about us page and see here that it is about us. And if I click on contact, I can see the contact us page, as well as create category page, which is this one here. So previously we stopped at a point where we were able to create, we were able to submit this category form, but we were not able to do what, to put it to insert into the database. So that is where exactly we're going to begin from, whereby we're going to submit this this category, and then after we'll be able to use it under creating a post. So by doing like that, we'll be able to cover all the concepts most of the concepts that we may need to create a Laravel project. So let's get started with real business. So let us go ahead and create a category. For example, I'm going to put here local news, and then I'm going to put here some details about local news. Okay, so I'll go ahead and submit this category by clicking on submit. So when I click on submit, of course we are trying to insert something, and you're saying there's some error. So let us see what we were serving there, what we were supposed to do there. Okay, so how shall we go there? We'll just simply come to, so I can collapse this terminal. Don't close it, but just collapse it. So I can collapse it, so you can see to access this create category, so you can just simply come to your HTTP. You can simply come to your application, and then come to routes, and then come to web.php. So there you can see where we are handling the post of that will be submitted at this endpoint of category create. So if I can see, I'm having here a method called save post. So that method save post is the one that handles the logic of doing what, of saving the category. So you can go to this method simply by pressing and hold Ctrl and then click on it, or you can still navigate to it by simply coming to controllers and then control of categories. So let me go ahead and press Ctrl and click on this one, and it take me straight to the what? To the method that I want to access. But to access this method is of course straightforward. Just simply come to controllers, and then you can see the control that you specified, and you can see the method that you target when someone submits a post of what on the endpoint of create category. So this is the post. So here what we did, we just said category, because category new category, and then we initialize the name of the category, whereby we got this name from the resource that has been sent, and then we got the details of this from this also resource, and then the photo we kept it as nothing, and then we went ahead and save. So before I save, I can die here. I can say before saving. Okay, saving. Okay, so I can save and then come and refresh here, so you can see we are here before saving. Okay, so the same post has been just resubmitted, and you can see we are here before saving. So now let us go ahead and see what was the problem. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this before saving and leave this category save. Category save. So this is the method that does the saving of a new category. So if I come and refresh, you can see there's an error. Okay, there's an error. This error is just something that that is happening. Okay, on a new version of Laravel. I've already faced it before, so you can copy that error, come to Google search and find what it might be meaning. So you can see the solution. If you have grepper, I've already put the solution. Okay, so if you have grepper, you can see that you need to add this one to your .in file. Okay, as well as if you come to PHP, if you come to Stack Overflow, you can see the solution is there. Okay, the solution is to add this piece of line. Where is it? Is to add some piece of line, that SOC. Is to add this one, is to add this piece of line into your what? Into your project. Into your .in file. So if you're using grepper, if you install grepper, I have already put this solution. So you can also just simply copy this one and add it. But if you're using a normal Laravel, most of the time you will not get this error. For me, I'm just getting this error because I updated my Laravel. So I'm just going to copy this piece of line and add it in my .in file. Okay, so don't add it unless you are facing this error. So I'll just simply come to my project and then look for the .in file, which is here. And then I'm going to come here after password credentials. Here, what is it? Okay, here after password credentials, I'm going to add here socket equals to application map. So I am going just to add this one. So if you're using XAMPP and you're facing that error, so you can change it to what? To XAMPP. So I'm going to add it there and save. Now if I come and refresh, everything should be beautiful. Great. So you can see that everything is saving. But if you're not facing this error, you don't need to add that. So you can see the post has been saved and there was no error. So if I come to my database, which is on localhost stroke php my admin, and then I come to what was the name of the database? Okay, you can see the name of the database from .in file is called Laravel _Genius 24. So if I come and search this database here, I should be able to get it, which is here. So you can see we have a table of categories, and then you can see there's a new categories that has been created here. Okay, so that's great. It means that our category is creating successfully. So once a category has been created successfully, we want to redirect this user to a list of categories, right? We want to direct this user to a list of categories. So about the messaging, like telling that it has been created successfully, we can look at that logic later, right? So let's go ahead and redirect this person that it has been created successfully. So to do that, I will just simply come here, and there are two ways you can do that, you can use the header, the normal logic of PHP, or you can use the Laravel Redirect. Okay, so let us use the header, the one that we use, the one that we are used to. So I just simply put here header and then put location, and then specify where I want to redirect this user. So this user, I want to redirect him to stroke categories. Okay, categories. Okay, this endpoint. So this categories is where you can get the list of all categories. That's where we'll put it. Okay, so to do that, I'll just simply come here and add dot URL. So you know the meaning of this URL helper. It will just create a link that having a base of our URL. Okay, and then I redirect the person to there. Let me just show you what this URL means. So I'm just going to die here. I'm going just to die here and with this one. And you see, I want to show you the meaning of this URL helper. It's a Laravel thing. So if I refresh, can you see? This URL helper will help to put the base of your application, the base link of your application. So if you just maybe say URL helper and just put a stroke here, so it will just be the base link of your application without anything. So if you add there maybe categories and then put another thing, and so the word URL, it will help you just to create, the function of URL is a Laravel thing that will help to add this base URL. So I want to redirect person just to stroke URL, and it's dynamic. Instead of you add coding there your URL, and then when you post your project online, it goes with those hard coded endpoints. You better use URL because it's going to be dynamic. So I'm going to be redirecting the user to this endpoint. So how to redirect? I'll just simply cut this one, and then I come and put location and then .url and then categories there. So here I can make sure that it does not go beyond here by just putting die, okay, or putting an exit. So that is the logic of saving a category. You can see it's a simple logic of saving a category, receiving the form and then save the category. So let's go ahead and see. So I refresh. Now you can see we have been redirected to categories, but of course there is no anything on this endpoint of categories. So that's why we are seeing 404. So let's go ahead and create this endpoint of categories, and this is a place where we'll list all categories, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So to do that, I'll just simply come to our begin by coming to the web view. Web.php, that is our route. Okay, web.php, and then I'm going to add there another endpoint. Of course, it's going to be get. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this one. I just duplicate it and then put categories. So it's going to be get. So it's going to be also under category controller, because this category thing, all of them will maintain them in this controller, right? So I can put maybe index, because index is a default endpoint, but you can put anything. Okay, so for me, I'm going to just keep it index. So if someone comes to this controller of categories on the index endpoint, you should give the list of categories, right? So you can do anything, but for me, I'm just going to keep it as index, but you can name any method here. So I'm going to go to this controller and create this method, but this method is, since it's a get, so it is just like this one of the one that we had a form of create. So I'm just going to duplicate this create method and then do it in form of index. So to reach this method of create, I can simply press Ctrl and hold and then click on create, or you can as well still navigate to your controllers and then come to this method of create. So I'm going to duplicate this one, okay, and then I name this one index. Okay, so I'm going now to create a view that is going to handle the index, okay, of categories. So I'm going to call it categories index, okay, or category listing, or anything that you want. So I'm going to call it categories index.blade. So this is the method this is how I'm going to call the method. So let's just go ahead and create that method. But this method is going to look much more like what categories create. So I'm just going to duplicate the categories create the categories create file, not method, the file. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'll copy this name so that I should just paste and don't make a mistake of repeating myself. So I'll just simply come to our views, which they are under resources, and then come to views, and then come to categories create, which is here, and I'm going to duplicate this one, right? Okay, because the logic is much more same. So I press Ctrl Shift S, and then I just come and remove this create and change it to what? To index. So I'm going to have two files. Okay, so I have now the file of index here. So I'm going to put here, instead of having a title of create, I'm going to put here categories. Okay, categories. So this is where I'm going to list all categories, and here the title, you remember, have a yield of a title. So here, instead of putting create categories, I can put just categories. Eugene stand for categories, so it will dynamically change like that. So I'm going to remove this form because I don't need it, of course, so I can remove it. So you can have maybe a list of categories, so like this. So let's go ahead and refresh and see if everything is okay. Let us first refresh, and I'll come back and explain again. So if I refresh, you see everything is beautiful. We have categories also here. So let's explain just one more step, just one more explanation of how we've done it. How have we done it? We just created an endpoint of categories and added it in our routes. So just came to web.php here, and under routes, web.php, we created another endpoint of get method and created an endpoint called categories, and we put this endpoint inside the category controller and named it index. Okay, but we say that this method can be named to anything. So we came to our categories controller, which is under controllers here, categories controller, and then under this categories controller, we created a method called index, and it is returning a view called categories index. So if you come to our layout, our resources, under view, we have another index called categories. Another layout called a view called categories layout, which is this one, and it is listing the categories. It is showing these categories. So that is how we've created that whole logic of listing the categories here. So now we want to put here this category inside our menu here, so that we should have a navigation where someone can click on categories and then they go to what? To that menu. So to do that, we are going to simply come to our, of course, we're going to add it in this layout that we're extending, the main layout. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll just simply come to our resources and come to layout, and then come to layout main. Then here we're going to, for the sake of navigation, but later we can see how we can make it much more better. So we're going to duplicate this one, and then we're going to add it here, categories. Okay, categories. Okay, so I'm going to change also the naming and change this one, categories, like this. It's beautiful, right? So you can see we have here another endpoint called categories. So it means that if I come and refresh here, we have categories here. Okay, so you can see here a list of categories. So instead of having categories and create categories on the same page, why don't we just put this create categories somewhere here in the page of creating categories, so that we should not repeat ourselves? So if you come under categories, you'll see an option of creating what? A category somewhere here. Let's do that other than repeating ourselves, right? So let us do that. So we'll just simply come, of course this method is called create categories. So let us go ahead and put this one here, okay, under categories. So with that, we should remove it here. We should not have categories and create categories. Let's put create categories somewhere under categories layout. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll just copy this endpoint of categories layout. So I want to put it here next to the categories title. So I'll just simply come to our categories index, which is here. I'm going to create here maybe a row. So I'll put div class row, and then create another div and give class of call md maybe 8, and then in this I'll put now the title, and then I'll also create another div and give it class of call md 4. Okay, and then here it's so going to put now the link of creating category. So I just simply put a and then put our URL but okay, just put our URL. So you have to put the view thing and then put URL. I'm not the blade thing, URL, and then put stroke categories, create categories. Okay, so you come and put here the endpoint create. I just leave it create, because under categories we have create. Okay, or you can say new, something like this. So let us give this one a class of btn dark. We're going to use the template of dark. What are we using already? We're using a primary, the blue thing. Okay, no problem. btn primary. Okay, and then yeah, that's it. I think that, yeah, that's it. So if you come and refresh here, you see what we're having. Beautiful, right? So I have here categories and then create. So if I click here, I'll go to the list of creating category, creating new category. Okay, so if I go back here, I can go back to create categories. So instead of having here create categories, so we can now scrap it, we can now remove it, right? Let us remove this one from now our menu, because we already have a navigation to it. So I'll come to our menu, which is in the layout, and now I can remove this guy from here. So there's also another picture that I may want to show you. You see, when I click on create, I want to put here a link that can take me back to do what? To the list of all categories, other than again coming back here. So we can toggle create list, something like this. So let us do that. It's just a technique that can be helpful to you. So let us go ahead and go to a layout of create category. So I'm just going to first copy this guy. Okay, I'm just going to copy this because I'm going to need it. So I'm going to go to this layout of create categories, and then I'm going to see here where we have creating categories. I'm just going to paste this, and then I'm going to copy this, to cut this and paste it here. So maybe this one may be 10 this one may be 2, no problem. So here I want to put list. Okay, I can put maybe list, or I can say put all categories. So I change this name now to categories. So I hope you've understood my point. So if I come and refresh here, you see we have, maybe you can make it this one maybe 4 and this one 8 as it was. Okay, I hope it's not break it. That's breaking it. Let's keep it 9. Okay, no problem. Just can use any as you want. That's 9 and 3. So hope it will not break it. Okay, that's did not break it. No problem. So can you see what I'm trying to do? Maybe I can put here float right, so it can be at the very further right. So let me show you what I'm trying to do. It's taking time. So you see, I can put here list, and I also change this index. Okay, we put also float right. Sorry, float. All right. Just a technique. So I refresh here. You see, that picture that I've created. I can come to categories. I have created, so I can switch categories to list to categories. So I can simply navigate back and forth. Okay, so it's a beautiful and nice architecture that you can use in your project, right? So let us go ahead and now do the logic of listing here the categories. Listing the categories. So to do that, we are going to just simply come to our categories layout, which is here. Okay, the list of categories. So you're going to list the categories. So now here we're going to learn how we can get information from database and display it. Okay, so to do that, you're going to look at the eloquent of selecting everything from database. Then as we proceed, we can see now how we can use the where condition, the sorting, and all that. So to select everything from categories, so I'm just going to put here my simple logic here on top, or anywhere. I'm just going to put it here. So what I'll do here, I'll write my PHP open just PHP. Okay, so I can put here maybe list. I can write just list, or I can say all categories. So how shall we get all categories? All categories, you can get them by saying equals to, and then you get categories like this category, and then you put like this, and then say all. So here it's going to get all the list of categories, or all the categories, and then put them in this list. So if I come and refresh, of course I'm expecting an error. Why? Because we have not defined this method inside this view layout. So we are going to define this model inside this view layout. We're going to use it. So to do that, we can just simply come and cheat from here. You can come and cheat from here. Okay, so you see we have to add this. Okay, use app models, and then we add this category, so that you should be able to access this model. So to do that, I'll just simply come to our project, and then I come to here at the top of everything, open my PHP tag. Okay, and then I add use the mode of category. So by doing like this, then the view layout will be able to access everything about this mode of category that you created before. So I hope if I now refresh, there is no more error. You see, everything is beautiful. So now if I come and die, okay, I can do dd here, and I can paste like this. If I come and refresh, you can see we have what? We have our categories. Okay, you have a list of categories. Can you see? We have a list of array, and it's having the categories, whereby you have the name, the details, and the photo. Okay, so what you're interested in right now, you're going to just collect the name and maybe the ID. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how we can do that. So I'll remove this dd, and then I'll come and refresh. Everything will be like the way it's supposed to be. So I'm going to create here our simple table, but this table will be inside a div and a class of a row, and then inside a div, and then give it a class of call 12. So inside here, we're going to put a table, so that is going to list these categories, right? So to do that, we'll just simply come and say table, and then give this table, give it a class of table, and then come and put the table head, t head, and then say this t head, come and give tr, is it tr? Yes, and then come and give here the th, okay, th, and then here you can have maybe the category name and maybe some action. So here in action column we'll have maybe the delete and edit. Okay, the edit and delete logic. So let us first see what we've come up with. Okay, before we go and see, let's first go ahead and create also the body. So you say t body, and then we'll come here and put tr, and then come and give here a what, a td. Okay, and then I can put here maybe category 1. Okay, cat 1, and then give also maybe edit comma delete. Okay, so just go ahead and duplicate this so you can have these ones. Okay, so if I come and refresh here, we'll have a beautiful thing like this one. Okay, so we just added a table class. Okay, so we can go ahead and add maybe table stripped, table bordered. If I write correct spellings, I don't know whether it will work. Yeah, table bordered, and maybe you can add some rounded stuff. Yeah, that's enough for us to get started. And then we can add maybe table stripped, table stripped. Is it double P? I'm not sure. We'll see. Table, I think it's single P. Table stripped. I don't know. Yeah, it's a single P. So you can see our list of categories are there. Okay, it's beautiful. So I can come to category, can come and create, and I can come back to the list, and I see a list of all the categories. But we have not, these are not real categories, they are just placeholders. So here we're going to go ahead and loop and put here the category name, and here some action, whether to edit or to do what, to delete. So let's go ahead and do that logic of listing the real categories here. So to do that, we're going to just simply come here to tr, and then we're going to loop. Okay, so to loop, we're going to just simply say we're going to say for, just write for. So if you have the package of blade, it will suggest for you blade for each. Okay, so if I say blade for each, you see, they will suggest for me. But if you don't have the package, you can go ahead and install this package, the extension. Just click on extension and search Laravel blade, and then install this package. It will be able to suggest for you some things for blade. So you see, I just write for, and then they suggest for me. So this is how we loop in a blade layout. You just simply put @sign and then put for reach, and then you open bracket, then you put here what you want to loop, and then you put as item, so what we receive, and then at the end you end here the for each by putting end for each, like there we see it here. So here I'm going to put now this list of layout, what I called list. Okay, in fact, let's just cut it here and remove this unnecessary starting of tag, and we put this list here. So let's go ahead and remove this word collection and replace it with list. So I can keep this one as an item, no problem. So I'm going to loop a single row. So I just cut this one row and put it between here. Okay, so press Ctrl Shift and F. Is it Alt Shift and F? Hold all of them together to get your code auto arranged. So I'll remove these unnecessary arrows. So if I save, come and refresh, everything is beautiful. Okay, it's beautiful. And the only thing is that they are not showing the name. So let's go ahead and show the name. So just simply copy this item and come and remove this guy. Okay, and replace it with a blade variable. Okay, so I'll just put there name like this. Okay, so I'll be able to get the name. So beautiful. Can you see? Local news, international news, local news. And you remember we submitted local news multiple times, and then we're able to do it to have multiple local news. Okay, it's beautiful. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do the logic of deleting. The editing, will do that logic when you're creating a post, but for now, let's go ahead and do the logic of how we can delete, so that you should know that we're done with the whole CRUD. So to do that, I will just simply come to this edit, and I'm going to make it a link. So how shall I make it a link? By just simply putting a tag, and then we put the hash, and then put here maybe delete. So I can add here some class of text danger. So if I refresh here, I can see I have delete. So I want to delete this category. So how can I delete it? So there are different ways of how you can do that logic, but for me, I'm going to just keep it simple. So whereby I'm going to pass here an ID and say if there is something that comes with the delete gate, it should be deleted without maybe even asking in for confirmation, without checking. I'm just going to keep it simple as that. But when you're making projects, you have to put the security. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So to do that, we'll just simply put here, we'll just simply come here and change it with URL. So the link is going to be URL, and then it's going to be coming here the same as categories, but the question will pass a get of delete, and then we equate it to the ID of this what we want to delete. So I can just attach here. Here you see I just put dot, okay, dot item ID. So by doing like this, you see what I've done. So this is just creating for us an URL, and then it ends here, and then after the URL we attach a get. You know what's meant by a get, okay? And then in this get we pass dot question mark delete. I mean the delete equals to the ID. So this is just passing a what? A get that we can receive. So if I come and refresh here, you see now if I move my mouse here, you can see the link that we're going to. So if I click delete, you can see I've just gone categories, and then there is delete. So there I can delete one, I can delete two, I can delete the last one. Okay. Now what's remaining is the logic of deleting now, doing the real delete logic. Okay. So to do that, we are going to do that inside the controller of or inside the method of categories, right? So let's go ahead and go to the method of controller categories. So we'll come here to the controller, and then we come to controller categories, and then we come to here the view. Here before the method that handles the logic before we do what? We display the view. In fact, we were supposed even to handle the logic of getting the categories from here, and then we pass to this view the data without doing the logic from the category itself. But we'll do that maybe when you're creating a post, right? So here, before I display anything, I want to first do the logic and check if there is anything coming through the gate, and if there's something there, I'll go ahead and do what? And delete. So how shall we do that? We'll just simply put now here inside this method, okay? We'll now simply put an if and say if is set a get method, and then we pass delete. Okay, if we set a method of delete, okay, now after doing that, then it means that we have something that is deleting. So I have to get this ID. So ID equals to, so since I know all my IDs will be integers, so I can typecast this ID to what? To an integer. So I make sure that anything that comes through delete is will purely be changed to integer. So this is how we call typecasting. So I'll just put int and then put here the delete. Okay. So let me first die here and we see what we have so far. Okay. So save, come and refresh. You can see we're having the ID of 4. So even though I write here, I attach anything here, okay, everything that I attach there will be ignored. Why? Because I typecasted. So that is how you can keep your website or your web application much more secure. So let's go ahead and do the logic of getting the category that I'm going to delete. So once I get this one, maybe I can first check if it is greater than 0, because I know all my IDs will be greater than 0. That is unnecessary checking. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the category. So I can say cat equals to category. So if you want to collect something from the database, you use what you call find. Okay, so the find will collect a certain thing from what? From the database using an ID. So you just say category find, okay, and then you pass the ID. So if this categories table has a column called ID, it will go ahead and get that particular column which is with an ID. So after doing that, we are going to go and we are going to now see if this category was really found before we do the logic of deleting, right? So we're going to do that logic. So I'm going to say if is not null. Otherwise, if it was not found, it will bring back the null. So if it is not null, I can die here and say found. Okay, so there I will know that it was what? It was found. So you can see it was found. Otherwise, if you enter here maybe an ID that does not delete, for example, this is a big ID, we have not reached there. You see, it is not going to do that. It stops here, right? So it skips this found thing. So let's keep it 4. We want to delete the fourth one, 4, and then you see it was found. So now let's go ahead and do the deleting now, the real deleting. So if you want to delete a certain model, you see I've found it. So if you want to delete it in Laravel, just put the model and then put delete. See, it's beautiful and simple. Call just method delete that's attached to it. There's no need of writing SQL and all that complicated stuff. We just simply put delete. So when you put delete and we refresh here, let's go ahead and refresh. So delete method, what are they saying? Delete method is not found. Wait, did I write a wrong thing? Delete. Oh yeah, the spelling was wrong. Yeah, delete. So they even tell me that maybe you meant this one. So the spelling was wrong. So if I come and refresh, so it has been deleted. If I refresh again, now you can see this part will not be executed. Why? Because that category no longer exists. So now I have to redirect the user back to the list of all categories. So I want to direct the user back just within this endpoint. So if in case there's an ID of delete, so whether it was not found or not found, we have to direct back the user to the list of categories. So how do we do that? We just simply use return redirect. I hope this one will work. Redirect. So this is a Laravel way of redirecting things. URL, and then you pass the endpoint of categories. So whether, as long as there's a get of delete, we'll just have to do the logic. If found, if not found, still we'll have to redirect a person back to a list of all categories. So I hope this is how we redirect in case you don't want to use the header. Okay, in case you don't want to use the header in like that, the one that you use, the PHP plain header, you can use this Laravel one. So if you come and refresh, beautiful. You see, we're now back to the list of categories. So I can go ahead and delete this guy, delete this guy, delete this guy. Beautiful, and all the categories are gone. Okay, so let's go ahead and create some. So we can say test, and say simple test, and submit. It's listing there. Can go ahead and delete. Beautiful. So you can see that is how we can simply create something and delete. But when you're creating a real world application, you may need first to alert the user, do you really want to delete this category, without just straight deleting before confirmation, right? So that's beautiful. Let us go ahead and structure our website, our database. Now let us write categories that we need, maybe local news, international news, and sports news, and maybe gossip news, celebrity news, entertainment news. Let's go ahead and create now the categories that we're going to work with. We're going to have local news. So local news. So I can come here, some details about local news. Okay, submit. So it is there. Come and add another one, maybe international news. I can say maybe some details. So here I can write some details about international news, and let's add another one, maybe entertainment. And I can have maybe politics, maybe some details about politics, and then lastly we can put maybe sports. Okay, so you can write here some details about sports news. Okay, so it's beautiful now. Okay, that's great. That is very great. Now we can have our list of what? Our list of categories there. So now we have categories. Now we're going to proceed to posts. Okay, we're going to proceed to posts. So posts is much. It's going to be much more of what of how we've created, just like the categories. Okay, only that we're going to add more things like adding a post image and all this. Okay, so let's go ahead and create the post endpoint. So we're going to put here the post endpoint. So since we've already had this one, we're going just to duplicate a lot of things. Okay, so that's why when you're following, you're supposed to understand. In fact, if you do not understand anything, go back and practice until you understand everything. So we still have 14 minutes. Let me see if I have another meeting right now. Okay. So let us go ahead and do that logic of posts. So after posts, of course, because posts will have to depend on categories, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll come to my layout. Okay, after categories, we're going to, after this main category, we're going to add another category called layouts. Okay, so I'll come there and come to our layout. Okay, our layout. We'll have the menu, this one, and then I'm going to put here. We're going to copy this, and then we are going to have here okay, so it is here, right? So this is our layout. So I'm going to duplicate this one. I'm going to add now posts. So I'll duplicate it and put posts, and then I can come and put here posts like this. Okay, so if I come and refresh, we have now posts. But the problem here, if you click on posts, it's going to lead you to an astray endpoint, because I've not created that logic of listing the posts. So let's go ahead and create now the endpoint of posts. So you're going to create now another controller that will be handling the posts things. So let me close everything. So to create a controller, you can duplicate the one that you have, or you can go ahead and create the controller using the Laravel command. So let me create a controller of posts using the Laravel command. So I remember we have our file where we write our important commands, if you still remember that. So this is how we're going to create a command, a control of posts. So it's going to be PHP artisan make controller, and I'm going to duplicate this one and put here post controller. Okay, so sometimes you may not need every time to write controllers, but to keep your stuff clean, you'll need to write controller per module logic. So I'll just copy that controller of post, this method, this function PHP artisan controller, and then I'm going to open another tab. I'm going to open another terminal. So it's going to be Control Shift and the tilde button. Okay, or you can just simply come here to terminal and then say new terminal. Okay, so I'm going to run now this function, this command that will create for us a controller called post controller. We first clean everything and then run that command, post controller. So our post controller command has been created successfully. Okay, so we are going to go to that post controller command, endpoint, controller, post controller, so which is here, post controller. You can mute yourself. Can you mute yourself? Okay, so mute yourself. Francis, mute yourself. Francis, can you mute yourself? Click on mute icon. Okay. So we are going to now go to this controller and then of posts. So I'll come to HTTP controllers. You can see the new controller has been created here of posts. Okay. So this post controller is going to look much more like our our Laravel, our categories controller. So we're just going to be duplicating things, and that's the beauty of Laravel. You can reuse your piece of codes. So I'm just going to come here to our category controller, and I'm going to copy this logic of index. I'm just going to copy this logic of index, but we'll delete who are necessary, right? And I'm going to come back to our post controller here. So you write your code and you can reuse it. Okay. So I'm going to just put here the index. Okay. So here, instead of let us first remove this logic of delete for now, and we'll just leave the view. Okay. When we come to delete, we'll do it, no problem. So you're going to come and put maybe posts index. Okay. Posts index. You can see. So that is the file that you're going to be opening. Can you mute yourself? Mute yourself, please. Okay. So this is the post index. And now we are going to create this view. This layout. And of course, this layout is going to look much more like of the Laravel, the categories list. Okay. So let's go ahead and duplicate the categories lists and the category index and do a posts index. So we'll just come to layouts, and then you come to views, and then you see we have categories index because it is listing what? Categories. So you're going to duplicate this one. So to duplicate, Ctrl Shift S, and then we change this word. Okay. So it's going to be posts index blade like this. So we go ahead and save. So here you can put now Eugenius 24 posts, and then here we just change it to posts. You see, so you can write your code once and then you reuse it. That's the beauty. Okay, posts. Then here we can leave it for now. Then we can put here post create. Okay, let us first leave and see what we have come up with. So let's go ahead and refresh. Now you can see, it's not working. Let us see what is. So let us come to our web.php, our router. Okay, so we are pointing at the wrong at the wrong controller. So I have to put the post controller. Okay, make sure that it is imported. Okay, post controller here. So if you now come and refresh, oh, okay, I've not put the endpoint posts, right? So I have to put here posts. Okay, posts. So if I come and refresh, now everything is great. So if I click on post, I can see posts. I click on categories. Now how come the categories one has gone? Okay, maybe we replaced it. We did not duplicate it. Okay, so have to keep them both. Okay, yeah. So and I duplicate this one. So I think now everything is okay. So refresh. So categories have categories. Posts, we have posts. Posts, let us see what is not happening. Posts controller. Okay, we have not imported it. Okay, so we have to make sure that this controller is imported. Post controller. Refresh. Beautiful. So have post categories, and everything is super fast and beautiful, right? You see, post and categories. That is so nice. Now let's go ahead and look at the logic of creating posts. Okay, so how many minutes remaining? We are remaining with 6 minutes. Maybe when they end, we'll stop from there. No problem. So let's go ahead and create the logic of creating posts. But these are categories which are listed here. But we know we're in the layout of posts. So let's go ahead and create the logic of creating a post. So to do that, we'll simply come and create another endpoint. We're going to call it post create. Okay, so it's going to look much more like this one. Okay, and that endpoint is going to be a get. Why? Because we want it to be like when someone comes for the first time, we show them the what? The layout. So I'm just going to copy. Okay, I may not even need to copy. Okay, so I'm just going to duplicate this one, and then I'm going to call this one post create. So it will come and call a method of create inside what? Inside the posts controller. Okay, so we're going to come here to post controller and create this method of create. So press controller and hold it and click on post controller. You'll be taken to this control of posts. So I'm going to duplicate this guy so that we should have what? We should have another endpoint of creating controller. So I'll just duplicate this guy and say create. So here, instead of saying post index, I'm going to change this one to post create. So this is another endpoint that we're going to have, post create. So after having this post create, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to create a layout that is going to have posts create. So to do that, I'll just simply come here and then come to our layouts, and this layout is going to look much more like the categories create. Okay, so I'm just going to duplicate the categories create layout. So I'll come to categories create layout and I duplicate it by simply pressing Ctrl Shift S, and then I come and rename this guy to posts create. So instead of putting here creating new categories, I'm going to put creating new post like this. So if I come and now refresh, we'll have posts, and when I click on so you see posts, now we have to link here, we have to link it with posts create endpoint. Okay, under the posts. So we'll come to our layout of posts. Okay, we come to our layout of posts index, and then come to rename this one to posts create. Okay, this one, so that when you click there, it should take us to post create. So if I come and refresh and I click there, you can see creating new post, so it is pointing at the right layout. So I want also to come and name this one to the list. When you click here, it should take you to all posts, not to all categories. Okay, so let us go ahead and do that. So we'll come to posts create layout, and then come and rename this one. Instead of putting posts, categories, we're going to change it to posts. So if I come and refresh, I can toggle between all the posts and creating a new post with simplicity, right? So now let us go ahead and now create we create logic. We now create the form of creating a new post. So to do that, we are going to come here. We're going to first go to the database and see what we will need to create a post. So I'll simply come to our database and then come and click on on posts. So I will refresh, maybe there's some error, and then I'll click on posts. What is not happening? Table space is missing. What is... Oh, it's not working. I don't know why. I cannot see all the posts. I don't know what is not going on. Okay, we will fix that, but we can see here the columns that we will need. Okay, but we'll fix this issue. Table space is missing. We'll search it. Okay, so these are the columns that we need when you're creating a post. Okay, so let us come and paste them here, and then we look at them one by one. So I'll press a comment, and then I paste here the column that we need. So the first column is the post body. The second column is the category, because it will depend on the category. So after that, we'll have created art. Created art, we don't need it. It's a timestamp that will be handled by Laravel. Then we have the post ID. This post ID, it's a primary ID, and so auto increment, so we also don't need it. Then we have the photo. This is where I'll put maybe the image, okay, the photo upload, and then we'll have the title. So here on the title, we'll have the text or the title text. Then we'll have the updated art. The updated art is also timestamp and will be handled by Laravel itself. And then we have the user ID, and this will be the person who posted this particular post. So those are the columns that we need to create a what? To create a post. So in the next class, we'll start straight from there, and we see how we can handle everything on how to create a post. Our time is up, and we keep our promise, strictly 60 minutes. So go ahead and practice, and don't miss in the next class. Don't just watch this as a movie, but watch as you do what? As you practice. So let us catch up in the next class. Goodbye, and see you there.